Welcome to Real Dead.
Hey everyone, this is Mike with Real Dead. And man, this movie just came out. Maybe it came out yesterday in some places, but it's called The Boogeyman or Boogeyman. It's adapted off the Stephen King novel. And I'm going to give you in this video the non-spoiler at the beginning. And then I'm going to say, hey, right here's a spoiler. So you want to stop at that point if you don't want to hear any more. And those that want to hear the spoilers can listen to it. I'm still going to try to wrap this up in less than 10 minutes, maybe go to 12, but let's see how this goes. I'm going to give you a little bit on Rotten Tomatoes, what it says the movie is about, but it's a high school student, Sadie Harper, and her younger sister, Sawyer, are reeling from the recent death of their mother and aren't getting much support from their father. Will a therapist who is dealing with his own pain he is dealing with his own pain. When a desperate patient unexpectedly shows up to their home seeking help, he leaves behind a terrifying supernatural entity that preys on families and feeds on the sufferings of its victims. And hey, that's a really good synopsis of the movie. It's a PG-13, which normally PG-13s I'm not a big fan of. Megan was PG-13. I thought it was really good. There is some drug use in it, strong language, violent content, of course. It's kind of a horror mystery and a thriller. I wouldn't call it as much as a horror because me horrors have a lot of blood and guts. That's not in this movie, in my opinion. Director is Rob Savage, producer Sean Levy, Dan Levine, and Dan Cohen, and the writers Scott Beck, Brian Woods, Mark Heyman. And today is the release date, 1 hour and 38 minutes, which I love horror movies that keep it down to 1 hour and 38. Don't do this 2 hours, 2.5 hours. Just way too much in my opinion. For a good horror movie, you can get it done in 90 minutes. And the cast and crew, the main characters, there's a guy named that's playing Will Harper, Sadie Harper, Lester Billings. These are some of the characters in the movie. Sawyer Harper and Dr. Weller. And then there's Madison Who in it. And when we did the initial trailer reaction on this, Josh was giving me a hard time about, hey, that's a little boy. I mean, that's a little girl or little boy. I can't remember it. Whichever way it was, it definitely is a little girl, not a little boy. So I think I may have gotten that wrong at the very beginning, but it doesn't matter. So let's talk about this non-spoilers, my opinion on it, and I'll give you a rating at the end of this as well, as far as a non-spoiler. So that'll spoil it for you for the end of it on the spoiler. So non-spoiler, I think the acting in this is great. It's a very dark movie. A ton of jump scares in this movie. I went with my 12-year-old who's about to turn 13. It is PG-13, and my wife. And both of them said it was one of the scariest movies they'd seen in a very long time. I thought it was really dark, creepy. A lot of jump scares. This, it's, to me, it's a movie that we paid to go see it, and I'm not upset about it. There has been some movies recently I went to and I paid to see it, and I'm like, I wish I wouldn't have paid for that. Do I think it's as good as Evil Dead Rise? No, especially towards the horror genre. But for a PG-13 movie, I don't know that I've seen one that's as scary as this one. To me, this was scarier than Megan. Megan, I never really thought was scary at all, even though there was, more kills in the original. I mean, the Megan, then there is in this one. Ooh, that may be a little bit of a spoiler, but again, really solid movie. And I'm going to probably just leave it at that. Acting is great, not cheesy acting. The two girls in the movie, the character really steal the show, in my opinion. And the family's just dealing with a lot of tragedy with what I just said. So I'm not going to spill too much on the storyline on it. In the spoiler alert coming up here in a few minutes, I'll spill the beans on it and really go into details. But would I go see this again? I wouldn't pay for it the second time. I definitely thought it was worth it the first time, as I just said. And score-wise, it's coming in right now. It looks like a 60 from the critics, a 68 on opening day. I think that from the fans, the people seeing the movie, I think that's going to get up into the mid 70s by the time this is all said and done. It's already creeped up a couple points today already. I would give this a solid 3 being average to me out of 5. I would give this probably a 3.75 to 4. probably 3.75. Again, 3 is average. So I thought it was above average. Hoping they do come out with another one. We'll find out. I'm not going to give you the spoiler on that one, but I'd like to see it in R down the road in another if there's another follow-up movie. But definitely a good movie to check out. And you know, if you don't want to spend the money on it, it's definitely worth as soon as it comes out on digital. Download it, watch it. Highly recommend it. So, scariest movie of all time? No. One of the best jump scare movies I've seen? Probably so. Again, my son and wife just jumped like crazy throughout the movie, and people in the theater did too. So, please tell us what you think below in the comments, and you can just stop it right here if you don't want to hear any more. But this is going to be a spoiler alert from here on out. Okay. So, spoiler alert, spoiler alert, spoiler alert. I'm going to put this when I'm edited in and all at the top up here, spoiler alert. So, we're going to go back to kind of the storyline and talk about that and give you my thoughts on that. So, again, the movie, ton of jump scares. What's happening with this family is at the very beginning of this movie, you know something bad's happened. And it kind of has you mystery-wise wondering what happened. And it comes out throughout the story. But what's happened is the mother has passed away in this family. And like all of her belongings are still left in the house. The family's trying to get over the passing of their mother, who was in a car wreck. The dad blames himself. The dad's not wanting to deal with this. Right off the bat, though, man, I mean, it's like in your face, jump scare. What's going on? You got noises and sounds in the closets and under the bed. The little girl Sawyer is afraid of things, so she's rolling this light around up underneath things. You saw that in the previews, but there's a plenty more of that where you see like, you know, shadows and things going around that just scares the crap out of you. Again, not the scariest movie I've ever seen, but man, there's a lot of jump scares in it, and they're good jump scares. You don't see it coming either. The teenage daughter in the movie, I believe, what is her character name again? Her name is Sadie. So it's Sadie and Sawyer, the two, and Dad Will is the father. But right off the bat, though, man, this guy, the father's like a therapist or psychologist, and he sees patients, and then all of a sudden this dude comes in there, real creepy guy, doesn't never show up for a meet. I mean, doesn't do a consultation over the phone first, which he's supposed to. He comes in and starts telling this story about how everybody thinks he killed his 3 kids. I think it was 3 kids, and that he really didn't do it. And the dad's kind of freaking out on him. Like, man, this guy's dangerous. Next thing you know, the guy goes, "Hey, I got to leave, man." The guy does see a door open, wants it shut because it freaks him out. And you'll understand in the movie that this thing hides in the dark and it doesn't like in the light. It's kind of like a supernatural thing. Doesn't ever say it's a demon, but it's kind of similar to that. If you wanted to, if you're talking about, demonic type stuff, it's kind of like a demon. Or an entity, yes, like entity, probably maybe even better. But so this guy ends up going around her house. The father goes out, calls the cops, and says, "Hey, you got to get out here and get this guy out of my house." The guy goes upstairs. The older teenage daughter's back in the house and doing things, got her earbuds in, can't hear anything. And then this dude goes into a closet in this room and starts like talking to this entity, and all these voices are coming out and stuff. Next thing you know, the dude, he kills himself. And what you find out later on as Sadie talks to the wife, who's the only one still left in that family, is that this entity attaches to the weak, those that are scared, and it attaches to them. So when he died, it detached itself from him, and was then, once it killed him, it attached itself to the little girl and that house. So that's what they're trying to do the whole time. They're trying to figure out how to get rid of it. I think Lester Billings is the guy's name that killed himself. His wife is still alive. She tries to help him try to kill this entity or demon or whatever you want to call it, this monster. And it's just jump scare galore. The teenager's dealing with some other teenage girls that are not so empathetic towards her, and she's dealing with that too. The young girl is just trying to stay in the light all the time. Her room's lit up like a Christmas tree, trying to stay out of the dark, and she understands why, because that thing preys on things, people in the dark. So towards the very end of this thing, it kind of leads up with pictures and like little clips of seeing this entity or whatever, your supernatural being. And then at the very end, you get to see what it looks like. And this thing is creepy looking. It kind of looks like an alien. Kind of reminds me of um, I don't know, like kind of like an alien in a way, a demon. It's got multiple legs, and then it opens up its jaw and it sticks its tongue like down into the mouths of people and tries to kill them. And it's really, really creepy movie. One of my greatest scenes in it. There's really only, here's a spoiler alert. I think now that I think about it back at, there's only one death in the whole movie, and that was the guy at the very beginning that killed himself because everybody was blaming him for killing his kids. But not a lot of blood and guts or anything. A little bit of blood in the movie, but not a ton. But still a good, solid movie in my opinion, for especially PG-13. Again, I'd love to see this thing an R rating and maybe have a few more killings in it. It would have been better in my opinion. But for a PG-13 and what they were trying to capture, I think it's solid. At the very end of this thing, again, spoiler alert, they do kill it off. They think they kill it off. And the only thing that can kill it off is really, they try shooting it and see that it can bleed and it fills. They end up lighting it on fire at the very end of it and kind of burn their whole house up, which in turn destroys all their mother's personal belongings and kind of everything in the house. Then at the very end of it, this is where it leaves it open for possibly a second one. The whole family's doing group therapy with a therapist who wanted the whole family to be there at the beginning, but the father didn't want to do it. He said he wasn't ready yet, even though he was a therapist or psychologist himself. At the very end of it, as they're walking out, somebody yells Sadie, and she thinks it's the therapist yelling at her to come back in the house. She comes back into the house where the therapist is supposed to be at, and there's a closet door open, and she had heard the therapist's voice. She gets over close to the doorway, which is open, and the therapist walks out of another room and says, "Hey, what are you doing here? What'd you come back for?" So it wasn't the therapist after all. So she was probably hearing this entity back again after she thought it was dead. So that's what leaves it open for a possible second one. I think they will. I think this will make a lot of money. And hey, I'd like to see it. Jump it up to an R rating, though, in my opinion, a few more deaths. So hey, tell us what you think. Have you seen the movie yet? Real Dead here, bringing you on opening night, our opinion on it. I think, again, it's a solid movie. I'd say a 3.75 to 4. 3 is average to me. I'd say 3.75. Jump scare wise, though, it may be in a 4.5 to 5 out of 5 on jump scares. A few little cuss words here and there if you're watching with kids. Maybe one F-bomb, damn and S, a little bit, but not a ton of cursing and stuff in it either. But there is a little bit of smoking weed in it if you got kids that are PG-13. But hey, kids PG-13 are hearing stuff at school anyway. But not that I think it's right, but they do. So have a good one. Tell us what you think about Boogeyman. I think they did Stephen King right in this. I think it was a solid movie. Thank you, guys. Please like and subscribe to Real Dead and join us on the Facebook community page, Real Dead Horror Community. Thank you.
Welcome to Real Dead.